Editing your site and funnel pages for mobile can seem like a pretty daunting task. I get it. I understand. I get this question all the time. How do you edit for mobile? I understand. I get it. All right. I've been through this build where you're looking at the page on desktop. It looks fantastic. The text looks awesome. The images look fantastic. The sizing's all on par. But when you go to the mobile side, it's just all out of whack. And you see images in random locations. You see text at random sizes. It doesn't make any sense, right? There are ways that we can go around editing the mobile side that makes it a little bit more friendly, a little bit easier on your mind, and just help in general with completing the task. So today, that's what we're going to be covering. Just some tips and general practices or best practices when it comes to editing the page here on mobile. Whenever I take on a new project for funnels, for sites, it doesn't really matter. It's the same approach either way. I always start with doing a desktop first for each page. Now, after that, I will branch out and do mobile optimization. The reason for this is because it helps me get a better idea of the flow, the hierarchy, and just the general layout that I want the page to have, right? Once you understand that, it's going to be a lot easier to see what's happening on the mobile side and understand where things have to move and how things have to adjust to look good on the page, and just make it so people enjoy interacting with that side or the funnel on their mobile device, okay? So I know it might sound counterintuitive. You might think that might be easier to go back and forth between desktop and mobile at the same time, but I promise you, at least getting started, you're gonna be racking your brain, wondering why things are shifting on one end and they aren't looking the same when you go back and forth. And that just comes with the territory of editing for mobile. We'll break it down a little bit further as we move on. Just know, starting out, that I recommend starting off with desktop first, completing that, making sure that it looks great, and at that point, moving on to mobile. Okay, when you are ready to move on to mobile, then we'll just switch over. We'll go, just hop on over. Just do a once over on the page. Scroll down, you'll see a couple things probably pop up here or there. Now this one isn't too bad, right? We see some images that's probably in the wrong location there, right? There we go, that's fine, we'll take care of that. Now there's two things mainly that I saw here. The first thing is gonna be this text right here. This is gonna be a common thing you're probably gonna run into. This is coming from side padding. I'm just gonna break it down as we go down or go throughout the page here. When you see this, it is side padding on the element itself. And this is a paragraph element, or I think subheadline, maybe? Subheadline. And again, if I remove it or reduce it, you'll see that it fixes the issue. Sometimes you'll see a little bit more extreme, like this right here, with just one singular line with each letter, right? And that's usually like 150 beyond, right? As far as how or why it's happening. All you have to do is bring it down in order to fix that. But the catch is, if we make that adjustment and go between desktop and mobile, you'll see that it completely shifts on the desktop side. Now, to maintain what we see on the desktop side, we have to create two different versions. So the adjustment doesn't necessarily affect the desktop side and the mobile. It's only going to affect that proper device that we want it to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on a back arrow here so we can get back to where we started, which is right here, right? And the first thing we want to do is just duplicate this element. We don't have to do the entire section, the entire row, just do the one thing that's being affected here in this case. And at that point, we can set one to desktop and one to mobile. So go in here, click on the gear icon, and down at the bottom for all elements, all settings, all rows and all sections, you'll see the option for visibility, right? By default, it's set to all, which means it's going to show on both desktop and mobile, but we want to go ahead and make one for each. So click on the desktop icon to, again, just make it so this is only displaying on desktop. And if we go over here, set this one to mobile only, just like this. We can then make an adjustment and not have that affect anything on the desktop side. All right, so go ahead and pull this down. There we go. And if we go back and forth, we'll see that this is going to look the exact same as where we left it. And the one on mobile is going to still look great as well. Right, so there's the first thing. Look out for that. This is for any instance where you see that something needs to change, something needs to be shifted or like resized, and it looks perfect on desktop. Just clone it, set one to desktop, one to mobile. You don't need to do this for every single element, which I know is probably going to be that first thought, is you just have to go through and set like whole rows or whole sections to desktop versus mobile. You can do that, but it's going to create a lot more work for you in the end. If you ever have to go in and adjust or edit this page, you're going to be wishing that you hadn't done that, because now you have to go in and make two separate adjustments, one on the mobile side and one on the desktop side. And you might have to do that either way for certain elements, but not the entire page if you can avoid it, right? when we make an adjustment right now for like this element right here, it is going to apply for both mobile and desktop. One adjustment, that's it for both element, or for that one element, and you are good to go on both sides. Okay. Now for text specifically, for headlines, for subheadlines, for paragraphs, it's all the same here. You have the ability to adjust the font size based off of mobile or desktop. Okay, so if we go over here to the gear icon for this headline, you'll see an option for font size. This is referring to the desktop, what is displayed on desktop. So if I go up or down, you see how it affects this on desktop. And the one below that, obviously, it's listed as mobile font size, but this is going to be specific to mobile. So a lot of people miss this. They just don't see it in the beginning. And that causes you to go in and clone different elements and where you don't need to, right? If this issue right here was just for sizing instead of padding, then I would have just gone in and adjusted the sizing of the mobile device, or the mobile sizing there, instead of creating a whole different version or a cloned version of that element and adjusting the size. But anyways, this is making it so you don't have to clone everything for size alone. If size is the only issue you run into, you can just go through and adjust it for mobile specifically, right? There you go. Now, if you ever run into an issue where, say, like you try to drag this and it's not moving, all that is that it's currently linked. So if you click on this little icon right here, or if it's lit up just like this, that's just going to, again, not allow you to make that adjustment, right? I'm trying to drag and drop, but nothing's happening. Just unlink that, and then after that, you should be able to go in and customize that. All right, so there is that. Now, moving down the page, there's another instance here that I saw. Well, text color needs to be adjusted here, but you see things like color and all that. You can go and customize that. If it's something separate from what you want to be on desktop, like this right here, then you can go and adjust it. Seems how apparently I already did that with a whole new row, and this one's set to mobile only. So you can do it for desktop. You can do it for sections, rows, or elements. You don't have to do it for just elements specifically. I gave that warning earlier just because I've done this in the past where I've gone through and had two different versions of everything, and when it came to making adjustments, it took so much longer. So anyway, just keep that in mind here, but you can do it if you need to. So if you want to, say, duplicate a whole section, you can just go over here, hit the clone icon, and then you can have one set to mobile, one to desktop. That's perfectly doable. You can do it for rows as well. If you go over here, you can clone a row. Pro tip, there's a keyboard shortcut. If you hover over an element or a row or a section and hit the letter D on your keyboard, that will duplicate it. There we go. Fun, I know. I love keyboard shortcuts. But anyways, you can definitely do that if you'd like. And then again, you go to the settings here. You can adjust it for mobile or desktop and set it up however you want. Okay. There was one instance I do want to tackle here for images. So everything translates from left to right inside the editor. That's how it's going to be displayed from mobile to desktop. And in certain situations like this right here, for this image icon right here, I have one image shown on the right instead of on the left, right? We change it up going down the page. Now, if I wanted to go to mobile, or if I went to mobile and looked at how this was displaying, this would be right above this image, right? Just because, again, we read left to right, and it would stack weird. Let me go in, I'll show you what I'm talking about. There we go. You see what I'm talking about? It kind of moved down the page. It's not above the actual headline. You see I already have a version there, but let's pretend I wasn't there. All right, by default, this is what we'd be looking at, right? And to fix that, all we have to do is create two different versions, right? So this exists on both mobile and desktop as of right now. And if I moved it, for example, if I pull this up and put it up here, if we go back to the desktop side, we'll see that that image is in a totally different location now. There we go. It's abandoned this right-hand column. And obviously that's not how we want it to look, right? So the resolution here is to go and create two different versions, right? We'll go ahead and just back that up there, and we're going to create a duplicate. So clone that element and go to the settings for the first one, set it to desktop, and then after that go to the second one and set that to mobile. At this point, there we go. Now what's going to happen is if I move that around, nothing is going to change. It's going to stay exactly how it was before. Boom, there we go. And if we go to the desktop side, that image is still in place as well. No adjustments been made there, and the one on mobile gets to have its own new home there in the right location. Okay, that's all there really is to that. All right, so anyways, keep that in mind as you go down. This is going to take a factor or come to play here pretty often if you're going through and seeing images in different locations. But all it comes down to is creating different versions, one for each device type, setting them to the correct device type and then moving it where it needs to be. All right, and you can do that for sizing. If say this one was just too small or too large for mobile, you can do the same thing. Or you could even go in and make it a percentage. That's totally an option. For images, this is a little bit of a hack here, but you can go in and make it a percentage. So if you go and click on percents or pixel, you have the choice to choose between each of them if you wanted to. Pixel is going to be a set width or set size, whereas percentage is going to be based off of the screen size that is on. So usually that translates pretty well between mobile and desktop, and it helps with being dynamic between the two. All right, but anyways, there is that. Okay, that is pretty much that. Now, when it comes to setting things up by default, your style guide plays a pretty big role in getting things up and running, okay? Style guides can be adjusted in the funnel itself, or you can do it inside of your settings. From there, go to style guide, and you can customize it. But if you're already in a funnel, you might as well just adjust the style guide from here if you're already in the funnel and you have it attached to the correct funnel. But when we go to fonts, for example, fonts is the main thing we're going to be covering here. But if we go to any of these, headline, subheadline, content, there's going to be some presets that you got to keep in mind, right? So we have sizing right here for desktop, and we have sizing right here for mobile. If you use the style going throughout, it's going to adjust each of these based off of the size that you select. So if you select extra large, it's going to be 63 pixels on desktop. It's going to be 33 pixels on the mobile side, right? So just keep that in mind. It is going to definitely play a role here. And if you want to speed things up, it's nice to go through and adjust this based off of what you'd actually end up using or what you would practically be using the whole time. All right. So yeah, I just want to mention that is something worth noting because it will come up if you use style guide often. And if you don't use your style guide often, I recommend it. It speeds up the editing process a lot. Now, there's just one thing I want to add to this video. And originally when I recorded this video, I didn't even realize that I skipped over this, but there's a extension that I use pretty much for every single build, and it is a lifesaver. I know that there's different workarounds within the developer tool of browsers, but I prefer this extension over pretty much anything else I've found. This is going to be a mobile simulator. It's going to show you the page that you're looking at, not necessarily in the editor here, but on a live page, what that's going to look like on different device types. So I use that all the time for mobile, so I don't have to actually go to my actual phone and look at the view there and how everything's coming through. I will do that at the very end when I'm ready to actually fully launch as a once over or a final mock-up or preview, right? But as far as going through the editing process and seeing how things are actually showing up on mobile, I always turn to this extension. And this is what the page actually looks like. You can find it in the Chrome store. I don't know if it's on any other browser. I'm not too sure. Honestly, I don't know. But this is on Google Chrome. It's specifically for Google Chrome as far as I am aware. And all it does, let me go and just preview the page and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so once this is in the actual live browser, again, you don't want to use this inside of the editor. You only want to use this inside of a live page or on a live page. And it doesn't matter what live page, you can do it for anything. But all you have to do is click on it directly. And I'm going to go ahead and go to live actually real quick, so I don't see that bar up there. And we'll go ahead and just click on this extension. Okay, at that point in time, it's going to show you the page on mobile. And again, this is a lifesaver. You don't have to go to your actual mobile device to view any changes that you've made for the mobile side. You can go to any browser or on your actual desktop here and just look at the mobile side from there. All right, again, lifesaver. It speeds up the process a lot. But you can scroll through, you can check it out. You can, again, this is the actual mobile experience that you will have or your customers will have, right? There you go. All right. But again, I mentioned it slightly earlier, at the very end of a project when I'm ready to fully release, I will actually test on my phone to make sure there's nothing that this extension might be missing or not pulling through, but usually it's really accurate. I haven't had too many issues with it. If you ever want to change the actual device type that's being used, in this case it's just, I think it's iPhone 12. Over here on the right hand side, there's an option to change device. Select that and you can go through and customize based off of it. Now, some of them are pro. I've never paid for this extension. I'm not sponsored by anything or sponsored from them, but I will recommend them to anyone that is looking to get better at editing pages for mobile. But anyways, again, you can go to any device type here. There's tablets, there are watches. I've never tested a watch, but that's cool. Anyways, I usually sit with a iPhone of some sort, just because it seems to be a pretty common device type that most people end up having, or I'd say a majority of my page views come from people on Apple. So I hope this addition to the video helps. If you have any questions on anything I just covered, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. I am more than happy to help expand on anything or clarify. But for now, thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. All right, with that said, thank you for watching. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.